Good morning. Good morning. Oh, wait, can you hear? Yes. Okay. Good morning. Good. Wow. Our fast. Okay. All right. I'm doing it. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Melissa. Good morning, Noelia. Good morning, Zitlali. Good morning, Nikaya. Good morning, Luna. Good morning, Darina. Hi, Ashley. Oh, wait. Oh, and good morning. Well, yes. Okay. Okay. Ooh, wait, more people coming. Right. No, I was just about to say I don't. Um, I it's obvious I don't have them. I'm not happy about that. I know you're not happy about that. I can't explain it. I mean, I could try, but oh, okay, thank you. Okay, I'm not happy about this fact. I was about to bring that up before it was brought up. It's not cool at all. It is not good. I could try to explain, but I can't explain, and it's not worth it anyway. I don't have them. No, I appreciate it. Wait, hold on a second. I'm still looking. No, well, right. No, you're being very kind. You're all being very kind. I know it's ridiculous at this point, and I've promised a million times. And for some reason, this is for some reason this is happening in this class this semester, not in any other class. I don't. It has nothing to do with you people. It does have to do with certain things at home, but that's not an excuse. And I hate to keep wasting your time talking about it. And I keep thinking they're going to happen, and they keep not. I have no leg to stand on. It's just wrong. Um, but again, and I don't want to waste your time all period talking about it. Let me just say, but you are being very kind, but you're being kinder than you need to. It's just wrong, and it's wrong on my part, not on yours. And I know it doesn't make your life easier. Let me just, as people are coming in, and it obviously affects my mood. Like, it doesn't make it any easier to teach the class. If I were in your position, I'd barely be paying attention to the class or whatever. Wait, I thought someone just came. Hold on. I'm sorry. Wait, now I'm confused. Hold on. Oh, okay, someone is here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, all I can tell you is, again, I mean, of course, you're going to get all your grades eventually anyway, somehow or other. But here's the deal again. I mean, really, I'm tempted. Of course, part of me just wants to say we're throwing them away, but you put so much work into them. Like, no. So again, let me just repeat the two concessions I can make to this whole group as just a way of acknowledging that this puts you in a very difficult position, and I know it does. The two arrangements I just want to repeat in case you didn't hear them last time is one, I promise all of you that whichever of your two exams you did better on, that is going to count a lot more. I might even, I mean, to be honest, it might turn out that in each one of your case, I don't even know how much a lot more means, but it might mean in many of your case, well, whatever I do, I'm going to do the same for everybody, but I'm going to count whichever one you ended up doing on better a lot more. I might even throw away the one that you did worse on. I have to think of that thoroughly through whether that's like really fair or not, but whatever I do, I will do for everybody. But if in each case, if one of you did really poorly on the midterm and you never got a chance to find that out, in time for the final, then I'm almost, and I'll let you know what I ended up doing, of course, but I might throw it away if you did. But similarly, if you did really well in the midterm, you've never gotten it back, you never got the credit for all your work, but then you bombed the final, I might even end up throwing that away. I can't promise. What I am promising is that I will count whichever one you did much better on. I mean, whichever one you did better on, I will count much more. So in a way, what I'm just trying to say, because I cannot excuse myself and I can't defend myself and I can't pretend that this is a good thing. But what I can say is from a grading perspective, because you're just sitting here still, like from your perspective, psychologically, it's like one big annoying, stressful exam. I know that, like, you took this thing weeks and weeks ago, never got it back, and now you're about to take another thing. So I'm telling all of you the best thing I can say, again, to try to acknowledge. Wait, more people are coming in. Sorry, I'm going to repeat this as soon as people come in. Hold on. And again, and I don't want to dwell on it, and I do appreciate how even those of you who are the most freaked out by this fact, and I know some of you really are, and it's fair that you're this freaked out, but even those of you who are the most freaked out seem to be being very polite about it and very respectful, which I appreciate and I notice. I mean, because you do have a right to be upset. So, but I appreciate how calm everybody, or at least is treating me. No problem. So thank you. No problem. Good morning. Good morning. No problem. So here's what I'm repeating. So let me just repeat this to everybody. again, I mean, this is our last class. I hate to end on a weird note like this. I really do, especially because I really do want to see all of you again next semester, whether it's summer or fall. And again, if there's a couple minutes at the end, we can talk about that. Let me just say again, it's horrible that this has happened, that I still don't have your midterms. I really know that. And I really know that it's like nobody's fault but mine, and it affects you, all of you. So let me just repeat, especially for anybody who just walked in. And again, first of all, let me repeat that you're being very kind about it. Even those of you who are the most upset, and you have a right to be upset, you're being firm. You're making it clear to me that, it's a concern of yours, as you have every right to do. But even those of you who are the most concerned seem to be very, or either you're being quiet, or you're being polite, which I appreciate. And I sort of don't deserve at this point. But let me say again to all of you, I mean, like, we don't want to dwell on this for 75 minutes. Let me say again that the way I'm arranging this is, see, I'm trying to think about it from your perspective. It would drive me crazy if I were in your shoes. So what would drive me crazy most is it's kind of like turned into one long torturous thing where you're still like in the middle of an exam for weeks and weeks, right? Because you didn't get back the midterm and now you're about to take a final. So what I'm telling all of you, the best way I can handle that is actually grading wise, we're going to treat it like it's 2 parts to one big exam, but I'm going to count the better part much more. And I might even throw away the worst part. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, well, that is very nice. Okay, and I see something in the direct message, which is a very nice question. That's a very fair question. I might try to address it publicly. I totally appreciate it. I mean, there are reasons for that. There are good. I mean, there's a question in the private chat about like, why don't I have a TA? I mean, to do grading. Very fair question. I appreciate that. And sometimes, believe me, I desperately wish I did. I mean, there are a number of reasons in it, but it's whatever the reasons are. Like, obviously, that wouldn't help you guys at this point. This won't happen again in 204. For whatever reason, it isn't happening in 204 this semester. I don't know why this happened in your class, not the others for me. I mean, it's not anything to do with you guys. And at some point, I know, some of you might be able to relate. At some point, once I fell behind on these things, then it got very hard to, it's sort of harder once you think you're really behind, it's like harder for some reason to face, or at least for me. But anyway, what I'm trying to say to all of you is that more people are coming, sorry. Because it makes it psychologically difficult for you to go into your final exam with this uncertainty. And I know that. I am telling you, think of it as you had like an opportunity there and you're having a second opportunity on the final exam. And they're like 2 distinct opportunities to get an A or to get like, a high grade in this class. And whichever of those opportunities works more in your favor is the one that is going to work more in your favor. Wait, hold on. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. So now I am getting questions in the, hold on. I am getting questions in the private chat. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Wait a second. And this is what we're here for today. So, okay, let me try to answer these questions in the private chat. I mean, let me try to publicly answer these. So first, wait. Let me finish what I'm saying, and then I'll try to answer these questions in the private chat, but then like we'll even pause and make sure there's no questions. And I'll even look in the Google Classroom to make sure the instructions are not ambiguous. So, okay, and because I really am, I mean, I wanted this to be fair all along, obviously, and I want you to have, and let me repeat again, I want people to get high grades. I'm not looking, I don't have some minimum number of Fs that I have to give or some maximum number of As or anything like that. Like if every single one of you got an A in this class, that is not only fine by me, but great by me. I mean, as long as it's legitimate. So let me just remind you of that, okay? Now, one thing I'm saying right now is at the end, when I go to grade everything, I'm going to count whichever one you did better on much more than the other. And partly because I know you don't know going into the final what's going on with your midterm grade. So think of it more like that was take number 1, like that was your attempt number 1 to get a good grade, like to do an exam. And then final exam is going to be like attempt number 2. And whichever one of your attempts is you ended up doing better on is what I'm going to count a lot more. how much more? And so now to answer one of the questions in the private chat, will I give you my final decision of how much more like before you turn in the final exam? Yes, I will. And it is distinctly possible. It's distinctly possible. I just have to think this through to make sure it's absolutely fair. And also, I guess I'm almost saying it to you guys to see if there's a reaction. It is distinctly possible that what I'll end up doing, because I do think it would be fair, what's distinctly possible is I'll once the final exams come in, and we'll talk about that in a second because I see that question in the chat. Once the final exams come in and I'm looking at all your documents at once, it's distinctly possible that I will literally throw out whichever of the two exams you did worse on. I mean, I don't usually do that. I don't usually throw out a whole exam. And so I have to think if I'm absolutely sure that that's an okay thing to do. And I don't want to throw out like hard work that you did, but I am, especially because all the grading got piled up and everything, it's distinctly possible that whichever of your two exams you do better on, that's what's going to count as your exam grade, and whichever one you did worse, I will throw out. But to answer a question that's in the private chat, that decision that I make, whether I throw out your worst one or whether I just count it a super lot less, like I count it one time and I count your other exam like 3 times or something, that decision, yes, I will let you know before you turn in the final exam. I will let you know that decision. That doesn't, I mean, of course I can't tell you which one you did better on until like I get the final exams in, but yes, I'll tell you that policy decision before you turn in your final exam. So that's one question that's in the private chat, I think, but yeah, right. No, so I think, so, all right, let me just try to read this. These are fair questions, especially in the circumstance. So one question that I believe I just answered that's in the private chat, I'll just read out loud. It says, will I notify you of my decision of whether or not I'm throwing out the lowest of the two before or as we take the final? And I'm saying yes. I mean, that's a fair question. Yes, I'll notify you. And it's very likely that I'm saying I will throw out the lower of your two. Because in my mind right now, what I'm thinking is that would benefit everybody. And I think that would not upset anybody if I did that. If I'm just saying I'll throw out the lower of your two grades and I'll count the higher one. And if there's if that upsets anybody, you can let me know in the private chat or text me or something I'm throwing it out there as a distinct possibility. I also think it would make the grading go faster if you think about it. But yes, I'll let you know. Now, but then there's this other question, which is super important, right? Oh, okay. Actually, it's really good to know. So listen, at least one person in the private chat just literally, and I appreciate this. This person actually is always very, well, you're all very honest, but I mean, one person in the private chat who did just ask questions just actually said that person is all for throwing out the weaker of the two tests. That's actually good info. I know it's just one person, so I'm not trying to have one person dictate everything to everybody, but it is one person who's been participating in the class, like many of you have, and one person who I know is working hard and paying attention to his or her grades. So right now I'm taking if I'm taking that seriously. You all can weigh in on this. I'm saying now, I'm not putting to a vote. I can't put these things to literally a vote, and I don't want to spend the whole period on it. But yes, I'm saying to all of you, because I know this is bad and annoying, and I'm trying to rectify the situation as best as I can at this moment. I'm distinctly I'm distinctly leaning towards throwing out whichever of your two tests you did worse on. And so that would mean, again, if you did all this hard work on the midterm and you still haven't gotten back and that's super annoying to you, then the good news that you know in your heart is that's going to help you big time because it's giving you a cushion, because even if you flail on the final, your midterm will, create your grade for you. And those of you who are worried that, oh my God, I don't think I did well in the midterm, but I still never found this out, so I don't even know how badly I'm doing in the class or blah, 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 then it means you won't be imprisoned by the bad grade that you never got back on the midterm. So what I'm saying is at least one person in the private chat just said they like that idea. I'll tell you this, if enough people tell me that they do like it, or if enough people, or if nobody objects to, this is your opportunity to weigh in. I'm not saying it's an official vote, but I'm definitely taking you people your feedback seriously on this. I'm sort of throwing myself at the mercy of you, because I think I owe you one, so to speak. So, you know, you can weigh in on that. Right now, I'm hearing a vote, and it is from a person that I know has been, I mean, I know many of you even better than you might think I know you. So at least one person who's been working and worrying about this is saying that they like that idea. If enough of you say that you like that idea, that I would throw out the worst of your 2 grades, then I'll do it. I mean, really, the only reason I'm not sure that I'm going to do it is I'm a little worried that someone might object, or that there's some aspect of it that I haven't thought of that's bad. So if nobody objects, or if you guys tell me you like that idea, I'll do it. Wait, okay, someone else just weighed in. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, a lot of you are, okay, first of all, I totally appreciate that you, okay, no, actually, I'm getting a lot of feedback. First of all, again, I appreciate this means that you're paying attention to me, even up till now, where I feel like I've almost lost the right to have you pay attention. So I appreciate that. Second of all, a number of people, and these are, this is what the private chat's for. So don't feel peer pressure. Don't feel peer pressure. If you don't like the idea, you can tell me in private. I'm not going to out you or whatever, and I'll take it seriously. Again, this isn't, also, it's not an official vote. It's me just like getting feedback. Now, a number of people are saying in the private chat that they like the idea of throwing away the worst of the 2 grades. One person, I hope you're understanding that's what I'm saying. One person did say in there, and I know they're kind of joking, but they're kind of not. One person put in there, I could agree with throwing out the worst of the 2 tests, but what if they're both bad? Okay, like, that's a fair, I mean, look, I know we're concerned at this point. Now I can't throw them both out. I can't like throw out everything, of course, but I can, the best thing I can say, and I know it's partly a joke, like even that question said LOL at the end, but listen, I do want to reassure you guys again, one of the reasons I'm like so nervous about this fact, or so like upset at myself about this, not to be cheesy, but like, I do think this class has been working very hard, especially under Zoom circumstances, all that. I do root for you as a group. I see that you're very serious. I think you deserve the best. And I think this is one, and I think we were all very strong together for a while, and then I kind of fell apart, at least on this issue. And you don't deserve that. So let me say that it's always been my philosophy that I want everybody to do well. And that is a philosophy, right? Because you know as well as I know that some professors are interested in something else. No, I do want people to do well. I don't have a minimum number of A's or a maximum number, I don't have a maximum number of A's or a minimum number of F's. We've constructed a whole grading system that is meant to give you every different kind of chance possible to get an A or an A minus or a B plus. And so just to remind you one last time, not to waste your time, but on the person who wrote in the private chat, what if I did badly on both tests? Please, all of you remember that actually the grading system is designed to even there to put a lot of weight on things that aren't just exams. The grading system is designed so that if you did rock both exams, if you got a 99 on both exams, or in this case, let's say if you get a 99 on one of the exams, we're now saying, oh, you've locked in your A. I mean, there's almost no question about that on the one hand, that if you're a good exam taker and that kind of thing, and we are now, and normally I'd say if you rock both exams, but basically now I'm saying if you rock either one of them, because I'm taking so long. So if you rock either one of them, if you got if you got a 94 on one of them, that you've locked in your A. And even if you never did a stitch of homework, assuming you're okay in lab, then you pretty much locked in your A and quark bless. On the other hand, to address the person who said, what if I did badly on both? Even though I know that he or she was partially joking, again, I know who the student is, and I don't even think this happened to him or her. But there are ways to get A's in this class without getting an A on both or either of the exams. Please remember that. It's very hard to believe until you finish 203, but once you get to 204, you see that it works this way. If you're like, remember, lab itself, all of lab itself counts as an exam grade. In other words, that means in general that lab is in effect generally worth a third of the whole thing. Like when there's generally 2 exams here and there's lab, each of the 2 exams plus lab equal a grade. So first of all, your lab work is heavily weighted. Second of all, please remember that all these homeworks that you turned in, including the game assignments, including any that you could still turn in now, they add all these points to your average. a lot of points to your average. On average, someone that generally does the homework of any kind of homework, excuse me. And again, I apologize. I know I've said this before and it is in the videos, but I'm also noticing in other classes, just because I say something like, oh, you know, it doesn't mean everybody's heard it every time. Please know that all those homeworks that you turned in, that you got 50s on or 75s on or whatever, they add up to all these points that then get added to your exam average, which in this case, we're basically saying your exam average is going to be whichever you did better on. They get added on, and people who do the homework regularly and have gotten it back, they often get, like, on average, like 11 points or something added to their average. Like, the homework makes literally, what do you call it? It can make a full letter difference. It can bring you from a B- to an A-. It can bring you from a B to an A. It's meant to do that, the homework. The grading system is meant so that there's a way to get an A for people that aren't necessarily exam takers. I mean, to put it bluntly, like, there's different ways to get an A in this class. And it's not all about an A either. Like, also, I should say, you know, if you're a forensic science major, you got to get used to getting Bs anyway. And we could talk about that next semester. But whatever grade you're looking for, it can be achieved through homework and labs. Maybe not just as easily, but it can be achieved that way, even without getting an A on the exam. So the truth is, to answer that, and that's not to get me out of response. That's not to defend the fact that I haven't graded those midterms, but that's to say your whole deal is not pinned, is never meant to be pinned just on one exam day or something like that. Not in physics anyway. So, and I know this group, you guys, I know you like surprisingly well for a Zoom group. I have confidence in you, and I don't have an axe to grind about you. Like, I'm rooting for you, and that's not always true. Like, some groups can be annoying, or some groups clearly don't work or whatever. So then I'm like, I'm looking for way, you know, then it becomes a different thing. But I'm like, it'll be better for all of us if you end up doing well. So yes. So even if you didn't do so well on either of the exam, there's still hope. Now, look. Also, I'm talking to all those of you who are trying, which I really think is anybody who's sitting here right now listening. I mean, if you never turned in a midterm and never said anything about it, or if you never turn in the final or something, or if you don't ever turn in your lab reports to WU, okay, that's a different situation. I'm not saying it's not possible to fail the class. It is possible to fail the class. And in fact, every semester, a few people somehow find a way to do that. But they know who they are, and they know it's happening while it's happening, right? I mean, and you know who you are. If you're just like never checking in or never staying on top of it, yes, not only can you fail, but in fact, you're the one that saves the generous system for everybody else. But what I'm talking to is all those of you who are actually worried because you've been doing stuff. If you are ahead of me, if you're worried because you've done everything, but you're now like, but I haven't gotten back this really important number, then I get that. I'm with you, and I know it's on me, not you. And so, yeah, there's ways. I'm not going to see one of you fail or get a C just because I failed to turn back your grading, your exam on time. That's what I'm really trying to say. Like, and partly I can say that to all of you. I can say that, okay, we'll drop the lower, and it looks like I am saying that, by the way, pretty much until somebody actually objects in the private chat, and I will not be upset. I won't even probably say it out loud or whatever, but until or unless someone objects in the private chat, I think probably what we are saying here is I'm going to fully drop whichever of the two exams you ended up not doing so well on, whether it's the final or the midterm. And so I'm not looking for any of you to suddenly be surprised with a bad grade out of nowhere. There are those of you who know that you've never done anything in the class, and it might be for like super legitimate reasons or whatever. But frankly, it's because there are always some of those people that don't do anything that it allows me to do these kind of systems that I do. It allows me to be as understanding as I can be. Because in fact, if there was a rule at John Jay that said a class is not legitimate unless some people fail it every semester, there isn't actually that rule. But if there were that concept, well, yeah, I mean, people do fail this class every semester for whatever reason. So you know who you are. If you're doing stuff and you're worried, don't be too worried. That's number one. Now, oh, also before I totally hold on, and I know there's more happening in the chat, and I don't want to waste your whole last period, but there was another super legit, like really important question in the chat, and it means I should probably check Google Classroom soon. So to answer something in the chat about, someone said it like a while ago, and I hope you're still listening, private chat person. Someone said in the private chat a while ago, wait, I'm confused. Are we supposed to be turning in the practice final exam? No, 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 no. Let me be clear about that now. Here's why we're here today to wrap things up and stuff is no. Oh, and then somebody else asked, like, when is the final exam due? I'll stop and put this, I think I did, but I'll put it explicitly in Google Classroom in a moment before this period is over. The exam that's in Google Classroom right now, maybe it was called practice, and if it was called practice, I apologize, like I'll fix it. What that thing is that's in Google Classroom right now, the thing that we've sort of been I've been trying to explain in the last few lectures, that document, the most recent document that's in Google Classroom, what it is your final exam. It's like the rough draft, meaning like I could still make it shorter, or if there's like errors in it, I could correct them or whatever. But that thing, I mean, yes, I've been hoping you would use it to practice for sure, but you're not turning it in twice. You're not turning in a separate practice or anything. That was supposed to be like the advanced sneak peek or whatever. That is the exam. I have to like look at the portal in a second to make sure that the portal is right, that you can actually, or I'll make a portal in a second so that when it's time, you can actually turn it in. But let me make this as, and again, I think this will be clearer if I stop yammering for a second and go to Google Classroom. But what I'm saying is your final exam in this class will be due 11:59, Tuesday the 25th. Yeah, it will be due like right before midnight on Tuesday the 25th, because I believe that's the last day of exams. I'm saying, and you're going to turn in your final exam to Google Classroom. What your final exam is essentially that document that you have in your possession. And that document, I believe, even has solutions in it. I know that. That's also partly I'm trying to make things like less scary or whatever. Your job is to turn in your own like version, like your own handwriting, your own work, your own colored pens, your own English explanations, your own, like your style. I want you to turn into me solutions to the problems in that exam, not twice, but once. And I'll make the official posting maybe in 1 second, but I'm saying, yeah, your final exam you've had in your possession now for like a week or something. And yeah, I solved it for you. So there's no mystery about what the answers are, whatever. But I think physics is hard enough. I'm trying to explain it and everything here in the class. I try to explain it in the document. Your job is to give me your versions of those answers. Does that mean in some cases you're like copying directly out of it? Well, yeah, I mean, sure, it does to a certain extent. Like I'm looking for the same content back from you as I gave to you. But the one catch is you're only allowed to write down things that you actually understand. So you can use my solutions to help explain to you. You can use each other to talk about them, and I hope you do. You can go on the web to also find out other things. Like you can do whatever you want to really, really make sure you understand why those answers are those answers to the questions. But then in the final analysis, you're giving me your handwriting, your, as I say, your style, to show me those answers. And the more so your job is not to show me that you have found the correct answers, because I already know that, because I already gave them to you. Like the job of your exam is not to just write down correct answers. Your job is to show that you understand why the answers are the answers. Right. So the more you can write in English, or the more you can make up your own diagram, or your own pictures, or the more you can, use different colors to show what you're doing. And most of all, and I'll say this again, I'll try to say it in Google Classroom too. really you're trying to give me one self-contained document. You're trying to give me one document that I can grade easily and on time, meaning that in one document, in one, whether you wrote down on piece of paper and then you took pictures and made a PDF, or whether you typed into the computer, like whatever's easier for you, but you're giving me one document where everywhere in the document, you're like, here's the question. Here's what here is the question. And ideally put it in your words, but here's the question. Here's my work. Here's my work. Here's my boxed answer. Okay, here's the question. Here's my work. Here's my work. Here's the boxed answer. Like, you want something that I can follow, that I can look at, that, or let's even imagine I did have a TA. Imagine somebody who does know physics, but doesn't necessarily know what all the questions are, or doesn't have a separate copy of the exam in front of them. They're just getting a report from you, a paper from you that shows answers to all these questions, right? The ideal, your standard is give me a document that I can follow, that I can grade, whether it's correct or not, just by looking at it. I shouldn't have to look at anything else. You can assume I know physics, but don't assume that I remember all the questions or something like that. Give it to me. So it does involve some sort of, like, if you couldn't just literally turn back to me my own solution set. Like, I know my handwriting, you know what I'm saying? And if you, so yeah, so wait, I'm going to pause. So all that you have left to do for me is that exam, and it is due. It will be due 11:59 Tuesday of next week. In a minute, I'm going to check and make sure there's a portal for you to put it in and stuff like that. And all that could happen between now and like tomorrow, the next day, is maybe I might notify you and say, guess what? I'm taking out question E or something like that. Like, I might make it shorter for your sake and mine, especially at this point in the year, but it's not going to change or get longer, or the numbers are not going to change or anything like that. Like, that's the exam, and it's due to me once. And again, I'll check the portal to make sure I'll check to make sure there's a portal like right now, but let me just look at the chat. Hold on. Okay. So first of all, I'm seeing that a lot of you like the idea. Okay, cool. I appreciate that. Okay, good. So I'm proud. Again, you still have time to weigh in by the rest of this class if you're hearing what's going on. But so far, it's saying that people like the idea. So far, I'm saying good, that I'm going to do it. Okay. But now in the public chat, that sounds good. But would that mean that the final is better? Okay, wait. So I appreciate that a lot of you went public with this too. Thank you. Catherine's question in public, I totally appreciate. The second part of her question, I think I understand better. So when's the last day to submit the A game extra points? Technically it would, okay, on that. So when's the last day to submit like homeworks is really what that means. And technically the answer should be today. I mean, with things like that, the answer is supposed to be the last day of classes. And in fact, normally I do say that, because otherwise then my grading gets too crazy. But in this case with your class, I'll say this Friday. I can't do the whole, if everything comes into me Tuesday night at midnight, I'll be crushed. So I will say to everybody, and I hope you write this down, I might forget to write this down, but any old homeworks, any game assignments that you want to turn in for 50 points or the 75-point ones, whatever, please write this down. I'm saying you have till this Friday midnight to turn them in. Like, that's like a compromise. Like, I can't say that you have all the way through. And it's also for your sake, because during exam period, you really should be just focusing on your exams, and you should put to bed whatever old homeworks and stuff you have. But I will say for this class, because of the circumstances, and again, because I want you to have every opportunity to have a powerful grade, we'll say till this Friday midnight. And I'll try to put that into the Google Classroom this Friday midnight, which means Friday the 21st. I'll put in the chat right now. Hold on a second, because that's fair. But then the other question of Catherine's, I want to answer, but I'm not totally sure I understand it. But hold on. Oh, okay, cool. Great. Thank you, Catherine. I totally appreciate it. I'm still going to write this, but see, this is, again, another example. You guys are being very polite and very understanding about this situation. what is that? 21. Okay, let me, I think, okay, thank you, Catherine. And then did I answer the other? Oh, yeah, okay, I think, oh, yeah, I don't anymore. So I see the last question in the um, I'm not even going to pretend to promise anymore. I don't know. I'm going to be scrambling on them while you're taking your final exams. So someone's asking, do I have a date in mind when I'll get you back in midterms? I mean, of course I do, but the sad thing is I keep saying I have a date in mind and it keeps turning out to be a false promise. And so I don't trust myself on it anymore. And I don't want to lie to you guys. I mean, I'm going to be scrambling on them while you're taking your final exams is all I can say. But hang on also, I want to look in Google Classroom right now to see how it looks on your end with the final, and then whatever time we still have some time. Okay, that's good. And I do want to spend the rest of the time obviously trying to explain, talk through the final exam, but hang on. You all are being very, I do appreciate how understanding you're being. Hold on. So I'm just looking, bear with me for a second. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, I see why this is. Okay, I see what's going on here. I'm going to, okay. No, I see. Okay, hold on. Bear with me for a second. I see what the or how to. I think I see how to clarify this. Oh, it says. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. What's going to happen now? So it's 11:30. First thing is, because I see why there's a little confusion. First, tell me, confirm for me, you guys. Sorry, let me get. First, confirm for me what you should have just gotten in Google Classroom now is the official like exam portal that says due Tuesday, 11:59, May 25th. It is the same doc. It's this. Well, so to confirm for me, please, if you just got like a new portal assignment in Google Classroom, what you should find there is something that does say this is the official thing. I mean, yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Okay. Cool. Thank you. So now, just to be as clear as I can, like that document, it's the same document as before, the same document you've been having in your possession, and the document that I'm going to turn to in a minute. Like we still have like 35 minutes. I know this is a bit frantic, but that's the document that you're going to turn in. I mean, that thing right there has answers in it and stuff, but on separate pieces of paper, like almost like this is a research paper or a report or whatever. You're going to do out your exam on separate pieces of paper. And yeah, and you're going to do it under whatever conditions you want. You could like do it sitting next to somebody else. You could do it while the web is on, like that. I don't care. And you can, and more to the point, yeah, sure. You can have, oops, someone's here. Sorry. You can have my exam sitting right there as you do it. But let me, but at the very least, let me put it this way. Let me back. But you're going to hand in your own exam by midnight of Tuesday of next week, and maybe between now and then, like in the next couple of days, if I find an error or I find something ambiguous or I find something too long, like I might update you and say, okay, correction to the exam or update to the exam, please sub in this new document or something. But it would be minor changes like that. Like basically that thing that you have is the exam. And let me, especially again, because you are still getting used to my instructions, and this is a weird, I know this is an unusual format for taking an exam. Like, let me put it this way, because I've taken many different types of physics exams in my life. Let me put it this way, even at a minimum condition, let's even say that, like you could have that exam sitting next to you, my document with all the answers in it. At a minimum, you're taking out blank sheets of paper, and at a minimum, you're, and this would not be really good enough, but like the first case scenario is, yeah, you're like writing down in your own words what the questions are clearly. And at a minimum, you in effect are copying my solutions onto pieces of paper and bundling the whole thing together in your handwriting with your pictures and stuff and handing it to me. Like at a bare minimum, and I'm hesitant to say this because I know this sounds weird, but at a bare minimum, you're copying some hard physics down on a piece of paper and then turning it into me. Now, and the truth is, I got to tell you, even that act, I mean, there's enough physics there, and physics is new enough to some of us. Even doing that is actually an educational experience. And I'll even tell you this, let's even say, all right, let's put it this way. Let's say we're going to the minimum case where you, like, first of all, haven't really, like, you don't, let's say in the minimum case, you're just like, well, I mean, he gave us the answers. So I don't even understand what this exam's all about. Like, he gave us the answers, and this is an open note thing. So, all right, I'm just going to copy all down what he wrote. I'm just going to copy. I mean, I guess that's what he wants. Seems weird, but okay, I'm just copying. Let's say you do that. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm not saying that's cheating. That's not cheating if you do that. But I'm warning you of a couple of things. If you just went to literally copy everything I wrote down in the solutions, and let's even say at a minimum, you haven't paid attention to anything in this class for 2-3 months, like you're just like tuning in now for the first time and you're hearing these instructions. If you went to just literally copy down what I wrote in the solutions, what I am telling you, I know from experience, I know this, that if you just try to copy all the symbols and you don't really understand the physics or haven't tried to understand the physics, or let alone the math or the algebra or anything like that, if you actually just tried to copy everything I was doing without actually understanding it, I can tell you right now, you'd make a lot more mistakes than you think. I mean, it really would be like, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but just to give you perspective on how to do this. Like, I know from experience, if someone gave me a text of Arabic, okay, like a page of Arabic, which I don't write or read Arabic. I mean, I'd love to, but I don't. So if someone gave me a page of Arabic and said, copy this down, all you got to do is copy it and I'll give you an A. Just copy it. I could try really hard to copy it all down, but I'd have to give myself a huge amount of time to do that, like more than a week probably. And if I tried to just copy down and I had no idea what the symbols meant at all, I guarantee you I would not copy it correctly. I mean, any more than I would copy down a painting by Da Vinci, correct? Like I can't, you know, copying is not as easy as it sounds, right? Like, and unless you know how to paint, you can't copy a painting just by copying it. It will look like garbage. And you can't copy handwriting or text or math or English or another language. If you don't know the language, if you just try to copy the symbols, you end up getting the symbols wrong in all kinds of ways that you don't realize if you don't, right? So the first thing I'm saying is, if you're asking like, what's even the instructions for this test? I am kind of saying, I want you to spit back to me what I've done in those solutions. But I'm telling you right now, if you just try to blindly copy them, that won't work. It won't work. And also, even if you got a lot of the symbols correct, even if you knew sort of enough math or this and that to be able to like follow it and stuff, I'm telling you right now, and I know this from Physics 204, if you are copying because you kind of know what's going on, but you actually don't think it through and you actually don't understand what I'm doing, but you just try to copy it, I'm also telling you from years of experience, that becomes utterly knowable by me. Like I can tell when people are writing things, even if they're sort of correct, but if they don't know what they're writing, I mean, this is a forensic science department. I know when people are writing things that they don't know what they're writing. Even if they're technically correct, they start not making any sense. Again, it's kind of like just trying to imitate someone when they speak Spanish or something. If you don't speak Spanish, you might be able to imitate them, but it's going to be pretty quickly evident because of your accent and your pronunciation and like where you put accents and things like that, you don't know what you're talking about, even if you like imitate the sound of Spanish, right? So what I'm really telling you all is, yeah, basically I'm looking for you to give me the exam back that I gave you. But the test is, can you make sure that everything you write down, you actually understand? And what you're, first of all, make sure of that to yourself, like use my exam. So you're partly studying this while you prepare it, like, because we're being realistic and it's Zoom and all that. You might be learning it for the first time this week. That's okay. That I understand, but learn it. By the time you write it down, you should just be writing things down that you actually get. And you'll know if you get them. And the more that you get them, the more you can put it in your own words and add things. And you know who you know the difference. Once you get what I'm doing in the solutions, when you're like, oh, I see. Then I'm not saying you have to put them away. I'm not saying you have to memorize them. But just once you get to that level of, oh, I see what he's doing there. And this is what I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes on trying to show you. Once you're like, oh, I see what he's doing here. Show me that. Like add extra words or extra colors or like put things in different orders. Like you'll be able to personalize it if you get it. And if you don't get it and you're just like tenuously holding on, like that will be evident as well. So what you're trying to show is that you understand these solutions. You're not trying to make up new ones. You're not trying to discover new ones. You're not trying to prove that you have the right answer. I know you have the right answer. You're trying to show me. And again, I know we have 25 minutes now. And this is I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just like, for any of you who is like, wait, like the minute you understand what I'm telling you to do in the exam, you might be like, that's it. I mean, you're giving us this exam, that's the exam. And we have a whole week to do this, but you're giving us the answer. Like, what are we supposed to do? I'm saying your goal is to be able to write on your own paper with your own words in your own style, what I've just done there, and just do everything you can to show that you get it, that it makes sense to you, that it is not just arbitrary, because by the way, that's the thing of physics. It's not, none of it is just arbitrary formulas that we just memorize. Like all of it actually makes sense once it does. Okay. And with 25 minutes left, I'm going to try to go back to showing you what I mean with the notes that I'm doing here. And you can use those too as well. But so I hope that's sort of clear. Your exam is the thing that's in the portal now. When I get a chance to breathe, I'll take another fresh look and see if there's errors or something I can make clear. But that is your exam. That's what's due next Tuesday. You can work together. I would love it if you did. Just remember, your goal is to understand why those solutions are those solutions, why they actually make sense. And the more you feel that you do, and you don't have to memorize. But the more you feel you do, that's what you're showing me on your paper. It's like a report of your understanding, if you want to put it that way. Okay. And I'm not trying to yell or anything like that. Also, last thing. Okay. So I hope, okay, you got it. Okay. All right. Again, I'm being a little frantic because I do feel guilty. I do feel bad. I don't want to, but I still think you have learned a lot. You will have learned a lot on this. One last thing, I'm still hoping to see you guys in 204 and hoping to have another good time with you and everything. You might have heard it's now unclear whether 204 will be some extent in person or not. Like all of John Jay's in a little bit of a question mark about that now. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that myself, but one way or another, it will be me for good or for bad. I mean, at least for lecture. And we're trying to figure out whether, summer is definitely still remote completely. Fall, there might be a non-remote. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to take that as, okay, good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and again, I thank you all for being so forgiving or indulgent or understanding, whatever, with all this. I'm going to go back to the packet we had before where I was trying to like solve these things. And while I'm flipping the pages here, the ultimate thing that the exam is just trying to show, it's just a one big example problem. This is what happens in physics is we like to go deep in small cracks rather than go shallow in wide cracks, if that makes sense. We're about depth, not breadth. So this whole exam is basically like looking at one situation from like a number of different perspectives, because a big lesson in the whole class that we're trying to get across is physics is about perspective, right? It is about yes. The answer is yes. You can still totally, yes. That's the other thing. The exam is now out and official. Like that's your exam now. You have a week to do it. Yes, you can still email me, or texting is probably better. You can still text me with questions and stuff like that, especially because I know you all can text me with questions. If I really feel like I can't answer a question, I'll say I can't answer that or whatever. But yes, you can, and texting is actually better than emailing. Try to make the question, concise and whatnot. But yes, you can still text me with questions and stuff. All right. So the exam is trying to have you draw a bunch of different pictures in order to analyze a frictional inclined plane, like the situation from lab. Okay. And we're almost, and it's the reason we're making the whole exam about like this one problem is because this problem is a good example of how if you look at the same thing from different perspectives, you can use logic to show something surprising. That's really what physics is about. It's about finding out things that we didn't know before, or we might not even have expected, but realizing that they have to be true once we think about them. And how do we think about them? We think about things from different perspectives. That's like the ultimate lesson in all of this. So I'm just flipping, and I am watching the clock. I know you all we have 20 minutes. Hold on. Oh, we're almost there. Okay, we're almost where we. Okay, so the last thing I was saying, I'm just looking at chat. Yeah, yes. All right, okay, so I answered that. Yes, okay, I think I've answered everything in the chat. I think if there's something I didn't answer in the chat, in fact, I'm not even sure I actually answered both of Catherine's questions, but I think I did. So let me know if I didn't. But and again, and I'm saying this officially, by the way, right now, since there's, good, thank you. Okay, cool. I'm saying this now officially. You can still weigh in, but since there's 20 minutes left and it seems like the temperature of the class has been taken, I am saying now, whichever exam, you all took a midterm, you did not get it back. I'm also, for anybody who just joined. Oh, wait. Okay, wait, let me look at this chat. Hold on a second. Sorry. Oh, well, yeah. So I'm trying to say, okay, so what I'm saying now, so to Catherine's question, I hope that, and please, so I'm going to try to say this and tell me if it's not clear. I'm saying because it looks like anybody who had anything to say in the class today kind of seems to have said yes to this idea. I'm saying now that when I sit down and do all this grading, right, I'm gonna have a final exam of yours that will come in next week, and I'll have a midterm that still isn't graded because I'm a bad person. I'm saying now that what's going to determine your grade, what's going to factor into your final grade for the class, whichever of those two is better. So the worst one is going to be thrown away and the better one will count. So yeah, so the better one will end up weighing a lot more toward your average. Yes, whichever one it is. So I think that, so right, one exam will be dropped, and that means, so that what that will really mean is we'll take the better of your two exams, we'll average that with your lab average, because lab still has to count no matter what. I mean, lab has to count for 1,000 reasons. Also, you have a different lab instructor there, so I'm not messing with, I'm not going to suddenly change your lab grading. Like that's not, like I don't have a right to do that. But we're saying now you're going to take your lab grade, which by the way, for most of you usually is pretty good, right? I don't think, I mean, if you've done what you're supposed to do in lab, I think the worst you're probably getting in lab so far is a B, probably, I hope. But we take your lab grade, we'll average it with the better of these two grades. That will be like a base arithmetic mean. And then we'll add all the homework points on top of that. And that will be how we come up with your grade. So I hope that answers Catherine. So yes, whichever one is you did better on will count a lot more. Okay. So now I'm saying physics-wise, but that's official now. I'm saying it because it doesn't look like anybody objected. So that is what we're going to do. Okay. So look at this picture. This picture, okay? This picture here is the component free body diagram, the component free body diagram of something going up a plane, and it's a component free body diagram, assuming that we tilted our heads and we looked at it from a tilted perspective. It's assuming, like you see all the vectors here, all the force components are broken up along, like every single one of them either lies along this axis or that axis. All of them are along an XY axis, but the XY axis has been tilted. The XY axis has been chosen specifically to match the direction of acceleration. This is the diagram that it looks like if we tilt our head like that. The reason it's advantageous to tilt our head like that and break gravity up into two components is then, oh, well, here it is. Then we do F net equals MA separately on each axis. That's the way F net equals MA always works. It's a vector equation. So it's true in, like we were saying months ago, like every two-dimensional problem is really two one-dimensional problems occurring independently yet simultaneously. So we look at this, we now have a picture that tells us what's going on each of the axes. And we have no arrows that are flying in between axes or doing it. I mean, the reason we put all this work in is so that we would only have arrows on axes. So now I look at the y-axis and I say in the y, so I'm looking at the y-axis here, F net equals MA on the y-axis. That means add up all of the forces happening in the y-axis, but add them all up, taking into account direction, taking into account minus signs. So this statement right here, n minus mg cosine theta, what that's expanding the left side of F net equals MA. That's me plugging in the results of my picture. It's plugging in this and plugging in this into the left side of F net equals MA, saying if I'm just focused on the y-axis first, I've got the normal force pointing in a certain direction, and I'm adding to it the component of gravity. I'm adding up all the forces, but since the component of gravity is going in the opposite direction, I give it a minus sign. I'm technically really saying normal plus negative mg cosine theta, okay, equals MA in the y-axis. So so I have n minus mg cosine theta equals MA in this is all in the y-axis. Everything's always one axis at a time in physics. That's why we spend so much time at the beginning of the semester just dealing with one-dimensional stuff. The whole idea is physics happens in one dimension, like at a time. So in this y-axis, we say n minus mg cosine theta equals MA sub y. But then now we were clever. We picked our axes on purpose because in the y-axis, we know for a fact, just looking at the problem, we chose our x-axis to line up with the acceleration. All the acceleration is along what we're calling the x-axis. So there's no acceleration along the y-axis. N equals mg cosine theta in the y-axis. Okay, like they're equal, like because n minus mg cosine theta equals m times 0. So therefore, one minus the other equals 0. So they're equal to each other. Okay, who cares? Like what? I want to see what I. Oh, yeah, okay. So we say that now. Oh, okay. So far we have. Now, why is that useful? Like, who cares? Um, uh, um, the reason we first looked at the y-axis, well, first of all, because f net equals ma is true along every axis. But remember now, this goes back. Remember when a week ago or 2 days ago and 3 days ago and 4 days ago, I kept saying a force is a touch. When things touch, they exert a force. But there's like 2 exceptions I kept saying. One is gravity seems to be able to exert a force without touching. Okay, that's mg. But then I kept saying in the real world, when 2 things push against each other, because things are rough in the real world, when they push against each other, they actually interlock and make it hard for themselves to slide against each other. And we call this pushing the normal force, and we call this friction. Friction and normal are just the 2 perpendicular components of one phenomenon, which is surfaces pushing against each other. They are intimately related. The more you squeeze, the more hard things are to slide. They're directly proportional to each other. And the factor that ties them together is roughness, right? Like I'm saying, in the real world, the reason this makes it difficult to do this is because surfaces are actually rough. The rougher they are, the more this whole phenomenon is true. So we have a measurement for roughness. We have a coefficient or a number that indicates how rough things are. And we call it, and you might know this from that, we call it mu. Mu is a number. It's always a fraction, a decimal, like anywhere between 0 and 1. And it has no units. What mu is literally is just it's literally how much friction you get per unit of normal force, how much friction force measured in newtons you get per every unit of normal force measured in newtons. In other words, mu is newtons divided by newtons. The newtons cancel out and mu, hold on. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Oh, yes. And I think there is one. Yes, I will give you equations in the, yes. You won't even need, but you won't even need it. I see what you're asking, but yes. So mu tells you how rough something is. The thing we need to know here, and it is a ratio of how hard it is to slide things versus how hard we push them together. So the implication, and I'm not even asking you to memorize numbers or anything like that, but yeah, for perspective, the mu of glass is like 0.1. The mu of wood or something is like 0.6. The mu of rubber is like 0.9. The more sticky and hard to slide things are, the higher their mu is. The key point for us, though, is if I just rearrange this equation, is the force of friction acting on any surface is the coefficient of roughness times the normal force. In other words, the harder you push two things together, the more friction you get. Or the rougher two things are, the more friction you get. Friction is a product of roughness and squeeze, you could say. So how this relates back to here is, here we're saying, we just found out that the normal force equals mg cosine theta. Friction will equal mu times the normal force. So the reason we just bother to go in the y-axis and figure out the normal force is because friction will equal, I'm just plugging in, I'm saying now, for this problem, for this situation, what we've just determined, we're not like done with an answer or anything, but from the y-axis, by looking at the y-axis, we found out that the normal force of the track, it's not supporting the entire weight of the block. Like N does not equal mg. N equals mg cosine theta. And remember, and cosine of 0 is 1. Cosine of 90 is 0. Like you might have to remember that, or like have a unit circle or whatever. But cosine gets smaller and smaller as angles get bigger and bigger. In other words, the friction is getting less and less if we have a steeper and steeper angle. And I think that sort of makes sense if you think about it, right? I mean, the steeper and steeper the angle, the less the block is pushing against the plane, or the less the plane is pushing against the block. So the less friction we have. Friction is just this value, mu times mg cosine theta. It's what it is, whether we're going up the plane or down the plane. But now let's look at our x-axis. According to our x-axis, if we're looking at the up trip, right, which we are right now, if we're looking at the up trip, if we go back to our picture, and this is of our free body diagram, look at the picture, we've got friction and mg sine theta, the other component of gravity, all pointing together, pointing down. They're pointing together in the direction of acceleration. In other words, I'm saying if we go to the x-axis now, the up, F net equals ma. In the x-axis, we have mg sine theta plus friction equals ma in that axis. Okay, and now I'm going to the next page. I'm just recopying. So we have, I know we have 5 minutes left of class. So we have this. Now, from our y-axis, I can sub in for friction. So we have mg sine theta plus mu mg cos theta equals ma. Okay, that may look very complicated. But each one of these is like a number that could be measured in the lab or whatever. Like, or mu would come from a table if we had it, or it could be measured in the lab. Theta is the angle of the incline measured in the lab, and there's an m in each term, so I can actually divide both sides by m. So I have now with 4 minutes left, just look at that for a second. You should be able to make some sense out of this, whether or not there's numbers in there. Remember, like sine of 0 is 0, and as angles get bigger and bigger, sine gets bigger and bigger. Cosine is the opposite. So look at that. It sort of makes sense. The bigger and bigger angle you have, the bigger and bigger component of gravity, like the bigger angle, the steeper the angle, the more gravity itself is sending this thing quickly, is pulling on this thing quickly, and the less friction we have, because sine goes up and cosine goes down as the angle gets up. But whatever the deal is, if this thing is on its way up, we have a certain amount of component of its weight pulling on it and a certain amount of friction. If this is for the up trip, if we compare, and I know there's 3 minutes left. For the down trip, the key point, the why free body diagrams and coordinate systems and all that are so important is if we pick the same coordinate system and we do the same business for the down trip, the only thing that changes is that on your way down, friction is pointing up. Like when you're moving down, friction is against you, pushing up. So for the down trip, the original free body diagram, the pure free body diagram is gravity down, friction pointing up now, and normal still doing the same thing as it was before. So if we divide into components, the component, then gravity gets divided up again. This is our component picture for the down trip. Notice it's just like our other component diagram, only now friction is pointing up instead of down. That's the only difference, okay? And the y-axis is exactly the same. So we have 2 minutes. The y-axis is exactly the same. So again, we have n minus mg, sorry, we're doing F net equals ma in the y-axis. Again, obviously I'm going to put these notes in the Google Stream, but, and also this is in the exam, but n minus mg cosine theta equals ma in the y-axis, but a is 0 in the y-axis. So n equals mg cosine theta again in the y-axis, which means again, friction equals just like before. So the amount of friction doesn't change. No amounts change at all. But now if we go to the x-axis, the x-axis now, F net equals ma in the x-axis. Now we have mg sine theta pointing down, but we have friction pointing in the other direction. I'm going to go to the next page, and we have, well, we're just about done, but we are just about done. So now on the last page of all of this, we have mg sine theta minus friction equals ma in the x direction. So we have mg sine theta minus mu mg cos theta equals ma. And again, we can divide both sides by m. So here now for the down trip, what I'm saying is now we have A equals G sine theta minus mu G cosine theta. Whether you plug in numbers or not, this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to go. And again, and I appreciate all your understanding, and I hope this is some, but just like look at all this and let it assimilate, and I think it'll make sense. What I'm saying is we have one track inclined at one angle theta with one value of G, one amount of roughness. We're comparing two trips, the up trip to the down trip. All the numbers are absolutely the same, whether you plug them in or not. The only difference is that on the way up, the two numbers, the gravity number and the friction number, were working together. On the way down, they're working against each other. So just pretend one of the numbers is 5 and the other is 4. Then when you're going on the way up, you have 5 plus 4 accelerate, like a 5 plus 4 net force against you, 5 plus 4, just making up numbers, huge amount of acceleration. When you're on your way up. Granted, it's negative acceleration. You're slowing down, but you're slowing down at a huge rate when you go up. You're slowing down at a huge rate. So you rapidly run out of all your speed and hit the top, and now you're done. Now you start coming back down. It's the same two numbers, 5 and 4, only now they're working. I'm just making up those numbers, but it's whatever they are, it's the same as on the up trip. Only now they're working against each other. Instead of being 5 plus 4, for example, it's 5 minus 4, like 1. So now even though you're gaining speed, which makes it feel like and seem like you're going faster on the way down, you're gaining back speed at a much lesser rate than you were losing it on the way up. So you lose speed really rapidly and get to the top, and now you trickle back down, gaining back speed. And in fact, you never gain back. You're going back down the same length of track as you went up. So since you're gaining back speed at a lesser rate, but going the same track, you never get a chance to gain back all the speed that you started with. You gain back slower than you lose on the way up. So on average, you travel slower on the way down than you do on the way up. All of which is to prove or to say or to demonstrate velocity and acceleration are related, but they're not the same thing. On the way up, you are slowing down. On the way down, you're speeding up. But on average, on the way up, you are speedier than you are on the way down. And the proof of that is these diagrams and these components. If you can follow that, if you can understand why you go faster on the way up than you do on the way down, then you understand these diagrams, you understand the relationship between velocity and acceleration, and you understand a lot of physics. And that's all we've got for now. You've been very, very, very patient. I hope to see you next semester. I will answer your questions by text if you have any, but that final is the final. Do your best. I'm rooting for you, and I will be generous. I will try to be half as understanding with you as you have been with me. And I'm going to sign off quickly now because the other class is coming in. So goodbye. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Goodbye. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye, Professor.
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a great, yes. Bye, Teach. Have a great, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to run before I get flustered.